Imagine living in a place where the year is not 2025, where Google, iPhones, and even a simple Starbucks coffee just do not exist. A place where the calendar is not based on the birth of Christ, but on another leader, and where taking a simple photo without permission could land you in serious trouble. Shrouded in mystery, this country is often described as a time capsule, frozen along its own historical timeline. And before you know it, I am about to show you surprising details that will completely change the way you see North Korea, one of the most closed-off and fascinating places on the planet. Sandwiched between China and South Korea, North Korea covers about 46,500 square miles, roughly the size of Mississippi. It is home to around 26 million people living under one of the world's most restrictive and peculiar regimes. The first shock for anyone trying to understand this country. There, the year is not 2025, but year 113. Time in North Korea is measured from the birth of Kim Il-sung, the nation's founding leader. This shift in the measurement of time affects everything, from official documents to birthday celebrations, creating a rhythm of life completely out of sync with the rest of the world. Can you imagine planning your birthday in a year that almost no one else even recognizes? Despite the cost of living being about 32% lower than in the United States, and a system that promises free housing, education, and healthcare, life in North Korea is anything but easy or carefree. The architecture follows traditional and monumental patterns, honoring the country's leaders at every turn. Clothing is strictly regulated, dark suits for men, modest dresses for women. Even the smallest details of daily life are layered with deep tradition and constant surveillance. Private cars are a rare sight. It is estimated there are only about 30,000 registered vehicles across the entire country. Practically nothing for a population of 26 million. For comparison, São Paulo in Brazil has more than 8 million cars. Traffic control? Mostly handled by women, carefully selected not just for their skill, but also for their height, perfect vision, and, believe it or not, beauty. Yes, appearance is a hiring factor for traffic officers in Pyongyang. What many people do not know is that these officers are trained to move with extreme grace and precision, almost like dancers, guiding traffic through the spotlessly clean streets. Pyongyang, the capital, is a showpiece in itself. Meticulously planned, it boasts wide avenues, grand buildings, and immaculate public spaces. But beneath the surface of modernity lies a harsh reality. In many of the tall residential buildings, the elevators simply do not work. The result? Residents have to walk 25, 30, sometimes even 35 floors every single day. Imagine coming home from work only to face a vertical marathon before you can rest. Despite these hardships, public transportation is surprisingly efficient. Subways, buses, and streetcars run on time and operate with impressive orderliness even when packed. Interestingly, motorcycles are nearly non-existent, reinforcing the image of a city unlike any other. And speaking of the subway, Pyongyang's metro holds a fascinating record. It is the deepest in the world, plunging an astonishing 110 meters below the surface. Descending to the platforms takes about 3 minutes on seemingly endless escalators, a hypnotic journey into the underground. Control over culture and information is absolute. No Google, no social media, no unrestricted access to international news. For most North Koreans, reality is shaped entirely by what the government permits them to see. Yet, some cultural expressions still flourish in unique ways. Take Taedonggang. Beer, for example, considered one of the finest beers in East Asia. Brewed with traditional methods and rigorous ingredient control, it is a rare luxury enjoyed by only a few. Another breathtaking example, the Arirang Mass Games, a colossal spectacle involving around 100,000 participants performing synchronized gymnastics and dance routines, creating living images and stunning patterns. Imagine a human mosaic, choreographed with military precision. These events are not just entertainment, they are grand displays of strength, discipline, and national pride. And just when you think you are starting to understand this fascinating country, one of the most surprising aspects of North Korea is its economic system. Unlike most countries, there is no individual income tax. Education, healthcare, and even housing are officially free. Sounds like a dream, right? But there is a heavy price: total state control over your life. Jobs are assigned, careers are chosen, and changing employment or moving to a different city is nearly impossible without official permission. There is no such thing as career changes or chasing new dreams. Personal economic freedom as we know it in the West simply does not exist, even though the cost of living is much lower than elsewhere, with rent being about 79.9% cheaper than in the United States. Access to everyday products is extremely limited. Common goods are rare, and those available are often reserved for elites or foreign visitors. Interestingly, the government even manages specific tourist and shopping zones, crafting a carefully staged illusion of normal life for outsiders. The discipline and control of North Korean society are deeply reinforced through mandatory military service. For men, it lasts about 10 years. For women, it can extend up to an astonishing 23 years. Imagine dedicating your entire youth, the prime of your life, to military service. Beyond defense, the military also builds infrastructure, maintains public services, and even participates in massive cultural events like the mass games. This deep-rooted militarization shapes not only daily life, but also the way North Koreans relate to authority, duty, and collective identity. And here is a provocative thought. How would your personality be different if nearly half your adult life had been shaped within a military system? Thinking about visiting North Korea to see all of this up close, here is a harsh truth. Tourists are monitored every second of their stay. You cannot freely choose where to go, whom to talk to, or even what to photograph. Every visitor is constantly accompanied by guides, who are in reality government minders. Want to snap a photo of a square, a shop, or an ordinary citizen? Without explicit permission, it is forbidden. Want to strike up a spontaneous conversation with a local? Impossible. All contact is strictly controlled, and any deviation could endanger both the tourist and the citizen involved. Is it really a tour, or is it a carefully choreographed performance? The constant feeling of being watched creates a unique atmosphere, a mix of awe and unease. You can witness the beauty but never truly touch it. While housing and services are extremely cheap by global standards, urban life reveals stark contradictions. In restaurants, a typical meal, like rice with vegetables or simple soups, is inexpensive by international standards. But items like meat, imported coffee, or electronics are rare and outrageously expensive. In Pyongyang, the elite live in modern high-rises with stunning views, but face the same reality of broken elevators as we mentioned. Bicycles are common, streets are wide, but often eerily empty. No billboards, no flashy storefronts. The urban landscape feels like a blend of retro, futuristic film sets and meticulously ordered metropolises. And despite the immaculate appearance, everything is regulated, from the height of trees in public squares to the types of hairstyles allowed for men and women. Have you ever imagined living in a city where even your haircut is controlled by the government? If you find this kind of geographical insight fascinating, now is the perfect time to subscribe to the channel. Every week we explore places and phenomena that will expand your worldview. Click the subscribe button. It only takes a second, but ensures you will not miss our next discoveries. Despite the strict control, North Korea preserves a rich cultural tapestry. Traditional music, grand national festivals, and public performances reinforce national pride. Arirang, for example, is more than just a folk song. It is a symbol of identity, resilience, and unity. In food culture, dishes like kimchi, fermented cabbage, cold noodle soups, and vegetable rice are staples. However, access to meats and luxury ingredients remains extremely limited for the average citizen. Interestingly, some artistic expressions survive almost like ancient crafts. Paintings, embroidery, and sculptures are highly valued, especially when glorifying leaders or depicting major historical moments. Tradition remains strong, even in a world where most outside influences have been carefully erased. In the end, visiting or even studying North Korea means diving into a universe that runs on its own relentless internal logic. Isolation here is not just political or geographic, it is cultural, emotional, and even temporal. In North Korea, you do not just cross borders, you cross into a different reality. It is tempting to see North Korea simply as a different country, but when you dive deeper, you realize it is a parallel universe, a place where time is measured differently, where freedom is sculpted into rigid molds, and where even taking a photo can be an act of courage or defiance. What few realize is that North Korea has preserved aspects of a world long gone elsewhere, a ritualistic connection to tradition, collective obedience as the highest virtue, and a cityscape free from the distractions of relentless consumerism. But at what cost? Looking to the future, an inevitable question arises. With climate change, international pressure, and global technological transformation, how much longer can this country remain isolated in its own timeline? Will the future bring opening and integration? Or will we continue to see North Korea standing as a capsule of the past, defiantly resisting the flow of history? Imagine living in a world where simply accessing the internet, calling an Uber, or traveling freely are unattainable dreams. Now realize that as you watch this video, millions of people are living exactly that reality, every single day. This is one of those facts that completely reshapes our understanding of the world. And now, Chin, after learning all this, could you live in a place where even the year is different from ours? If this video shifted your perspective even a little, leave a like and share it with someone who needs to see this. In the comments, tell us which part surprised you the most. And if you want more content that expands your mind and challenges your perceptions, the subscribe button is waiting for you. Here at MindSparks, every week we explore new frontiers of geographical knowledge,